Hey, you guys, on today's show, I have a very special interview with some really cool people who are doing the Lord's work with a group called Project Milk Carton. You are definitely going to want to hear what this organization is all about. So stick around for that today on the Angela Box Show.
Hello, my name is Angela Box.
Joining me today are the CEO, co-founder, and director of Project Milk Carton, and this is a fantastic organization. I'm actually going to let they're going to tell you all about it, but let me introduce my guests. We've got Melody Jennings, who is the director of Project Milk Carton. We've got Andrew File, who is in desperate need of a haircut, according to him, and he is the co-founder of Project Milk Carton. And then Jeremiah Sinks is the CEO of Project Milk Carton. So welcome all y'all to the Angela Box Show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
I only said that to Andrew because off screen he was like being a total girl, and he's like, I'm gonna grow my hair out and it's gonna be like super cute. And I was like, you shouldn't have told me that.
Wait till he starts fluffing it. He'll start fluffing it in a minute.
So Jeremiah, as the CEO, what exactly is Project Milk Carton?
Okay, so as Andy and I started researching NGOs at the border and so forth and so on, we started noticing that the same NGOs involved at the border with the migration situation back in, I believe it was 2022, also involves our CPS and foster care kids, which leads into the the missing kids, the runaways, throwaways, etc. So as a group, we got together and started to put out and bring awareness to the missing kids that typically would, when they go missing, they get put on NITMIC's website and then they don't get spoke about. So we started researching that and created Project Milk Carton to post them on those posters on social media to bring awareness to them, hoping that somebody can recognize them and bring them home safely.
Awesome. Andrew, I believe, are you and Jeremy both former intelligence officers, or is that just you?
No, not a former intelligence officer, former EOD guy. So I was
EOD.
Navy Special Operations, Explosive Ordnance Disposal, Warfare Specialist.
Yeah, I love how you say EOD. I was like nodding, like, oh, sure.
So
I have no idea what EOD means.
All the IEDs that were encountered overseas, we were the ones that cleared them.
Oh, wow.
So I was assigned to SEAL teams in that capacity to clear all explosive hazards on direct action missions and so forth. So a lot of research experience as EOD. You have to, really understand the ordnance, the fusing, how it works, so that you know how to dismantle it per se. So I kind of brought that into our, how detailed we get into our investigations and research. But yeah, like Jeremiah was saying, we met when we were the Hawaii fires. So the Hawaii fires, we met in a space, and there was some lawsuit, and found out it was a real lawsuit that Hawaii, the royal family in Hawaii, has against the U.S. government. And so, and there was an act passed that basically said, "Oops, sorry, we took Hawaii," that Clinton left. But anyway, so we met that way, and then we realized the kids that were missing from that fire just, gone. Like just, probably, I don't know, most likely found statistically speaking, but no one really knows. So that kind of started. Yeah. And then we went, okay, well, if kids go missing, how could they leave Hawaii? And then you start scoping out, looking at all the different ways they can leave Hawaii. And then it all leads to corporations, NGOs, etc. But so then we went, okay, we started looking at the border and realizing the missing children issue at the border. 30 days, they're just gone, right?
I also met teenage boys between the ages of 14 to 17 who claimed cartel operatives often transported children through Mexico and held them at the bodegas where armed cartel members stood guard. Many were told they were going to stay with sponsors in America, with several claims, again, that the teens had never met or personally communicated with their supposed sponsors. Since January 2021, there have been over 356,000 UACs encountered at the southern border, a majority of which have been released into the U.S., more than 10,000 of which that have been released in my respective area of North Texas. The current administration has admitted that they do not keep track of the whereabouts when they are released into the U.S. With the use of taxpayer dollars, tens of thousands of children are simply missing. How many of the missing children are in my city or in yours? This has forced the state of Texas to take actions we never should have had to take as a direct result of the failed federal policies. Currently, we have bipartisan support for my state-level legislative-sponsored letter calling for a state investigation into the trafficking of unaccompanied minors in Texas. I am calling on Congress to investigate the federal agencies responsible for these minors, to locate these children, and to act with urgency to end the policy of releasing UACs in the U.S. with sponsors and non-family members they do not know. I am also calling on Congress to require that all alleged family members undergo a DNA test. The abuse of children is not a political or partisan issue. It is a humanitarian and legal issue. I am calling on Congress to investigate the actions of DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra, and Border Czar Vice President Kamala Harris, and to identify their role in facilitating the abuse of children through federal agencies and demand that they be held accountable. I agree with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who describes what is happening as, quote, effectively the largest human smuggling operation in American history. We can no longer turn a blind eye and pretend that this isn't happening. Congress has the power to stop this.
So we were able to look at the contracts and the grants given for home study, and then look at the numbers that these NGOs were reporting. This is one of the things we researched and figured out what per diem was, how much, these organizations get paid per child. And they would service like 500,000 children. Right. And so that 400,000 missing children, we did the numbers and found out where that could be. Right. And so the home study program is where we really started getting into the darkness of, missing children. Right. Yeah. So I really want to talk about that because.
Yeah, for sure.
We really scoped out and went, okay, 2,300 children go missing a day. Right. That's a lot.
That is.
So that's all that's reported, 2,300 a day, right? Okay, well, let's look into that. What does that mean? So you start researching that number. Well, within 2 hours, 80% of children get found when they're missing in that statistic. And all of them, majority of them, you can, statistically, it's almost all of them are foster care, 11 to 18, right? So now we go, oh, well, that's a pretty significant issue that we can focus on. Well, foster care, boom, right? So we started looking at the UAC, right? The unaccompanied alien children, the unaccompanied refugee minor, that one has papers. UAC don't have papers, right? Two children-related international programs of children coming into our country, right? They all bottleneck at the state, at the foster care funding pipelines, right? And this is in the tens of trillions of dollars. When you think about U.S. domestic foster care, international UAC funding in the past decade, it's 3 times more than our Department of War budget.
And let me interrupt you, and I want to bring in Melody too, because when you look at those NGOs that, of course, were kicking and screaming after USAID was closed. Melody, as the director, do you see? Let me check it. Do you find that there's a correlation between USAID money to the NGOs and how many children go missing and that are not found? And with the closing of USAID, do you have any idea, has that gotten better?
That's really going to be a question for the guys. That's probably not my lane, but I would not be surprised if that's very much correlated, especially when you're hearing, even just today, I was reading something about USAID and how there are certain things that are not happening anymore because, as a matter of fact, wasn't it some elections that just happened overseas that they said, yeah, they went all Republican, they all went right wing because USAID funds weren't going there. So would that correlate with children? Absolutely. But that's going to be a question for my researchers here. That's not quite my lane, but I'm happy to answer anything I can.
Jeremy or Andrew, do you have
Yeah.
any idea about that?
So that's one of the main things that we can pinpoint, right? And here's how we do it. So the IRS has a database, open source, of every NGO in the country and international. Okay, they're all broken down, coded. There's a legend, a key, a PDF that you can use that you can track what all these NGOs are, and they're categorized or subsectioned in different humanitarian missions or categories, and you can use those numbers to extract every single NGO that touches a child. Period. You get all that. So we have that database. So we can give you right now, like there's almost 3 million NGOs in this database, right?
Wow.
That are coded either 501c3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2s. And if any of their missions touches children, it's a code in there that you can extract all these companies. Then you take a state. Now you have to have a location, right? I have all the NGOs. Now I get a location, a state. That narrows those down. Now I can get every NGO that touches a child that uses grant money and your tax dollars in that specific state. And then you can scope it down into the county. And then you can scope it into the congressional district that it is that was ordered, because a congressional district orders money, basically applies for the grant, and then another it could be used in the same district, or it could be received in this district and used in that district.
Okay, so here's
All
a
these
question that,
and that's just what PMC does. Anyway.
well, here's a question. As you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, all that money going to this, coming from this politician or that politician. Jeremy, do you think that, I guess, let me say this. How high of an awareness do you think our elected officials have when it comes to the money going to these NGOs? Like, do they understand that they're appropriating money to NGOs that lose children, and there's just, whoopsie.
So-
I mean, whoops, they're gone.
We can prove it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question, a very important one, because we can prove where money flows into the NGOs and then flows back into congressmen via lobbying, not just congressmen, senators as well. But so, and to your point, are they aware? How much they pay attention, right? So I can tell you, I've spoken to a former staffer for a Congress member, and he said that the NGOs have Congress staffers on speed dial. Here's the thing: to get access to a congressman, you have to go through the staffers, right? So we've been down this road. We've had all of our information. I think it was like 47,000 documents or something sent to a staffer. We never heard back from them. I've contacted many myself and never heard back from them. So the staffer's the blockade, right? So and in these conversations, one of the things that I've heard is that, you get so many days after you get elected as a congressman before you have to start thinking about your next reelection, right? And then all these lobbyists, that's where the money's flowing in. So the lobbyists aren't, what I've found via my research is the lobbyists are there to lobby for the NGO, right?
Mhm.
And what's in the best interest of them. And that's where their targets are. So forth and so on. So are they aware? That's a conversation for them to see how much they've looked into where the money's coming from that pays them. And listen, we know that, if Catholic Charities is funding, said Congress member, he's not going to look into Catholic Charities. So that's my
Oy.
point. But it's a
Well,
bigger issue.
there's multiple ways that political influence can be pushed from these NGOs, right? So the first way is lobbying. Okay. 501c3s and 4s, believe it or not, C3s can lobby. They can up to a certain percentage of their income or their whatever you call them. I'm not an accountant, but I know that, so Okay, so now I have an NGO. Let's say I have an NGO, Project Milk Carton. Let's use that. Okay. Let's say we have 1,000 employees, right? And so now those employees become a trade pack of sorts, right? Whether for us, it's child welfare, right? And so you can create the employees of my NGO. This is just an example. We don't have 1,000 employees. We only have maybe we don't have any employees. We're all volunteer. But if those employees all contribute to certain either politicians or political action committees, et cetera, that's how political influence and financing from these NGOs gets pushed into the government and the federal level on Congress, Senate, all kinds of crazy ways. And that's one of the things, again, the Project Milk Carton does. We will take and representatives, we can do this. We can tell what committee member has the most influence than the other committee members. And we know that by using game theory, reverse induction, and all the data that's available. And it's extremely accurate, right? All the grant data, all the FEC data, contributions. If you want to link people to organizations to people, go to FEC, because those organizations, they will tell you who voted for who, right? And you'll notice, and we've tracked this for a long time, these employees, they contribute in clusters, family names, same days, etc. So that's how that's how the third, 3 times, larger than our Department of Defense budget gets funded back to DC. All open, all legal. I'm not agreeing with it, but people just aren't seeing it, and they want to demonize instead of seeing the actual mechanisms that are actually pushing in the funding. Go ahead.
Sorry, if I may, Andy, you want to explain the RUSCA too? Because I think that's a big part of this, what goes into Congress and laws and so forth and so on, because it's
this
a big structure in this.
Yeah, so we categorize NGOs when it comes to child welfare into 2 categories. Standalone, that would be Southwest Key Programs, BCSF, First Day Foundation. All these are Texas-based organizations. Some of them do things outside the state, but they're their own ecosystem. They own companies, they cross-board members, all open, right? And they're in the billions of dollars, and they just operate in specific states, okay? Then there's the ecosystem, which, so RUSCA is an organization based out of DC that the board members of 9 other national NGOs called VOLAGs, right? All those board members are monstrous in all domains: Wall Street, political, economics. I'm talking Larry Fink. All of those individuals are on these boards of these networked organizations, right? So you have those 9 VOLAGs, one that runs them. This one sued RCUSA sued Trump, by the way, and stopped Trump's executive order demanding governors to know what and how many illegal immigrants are in their state, right? Because when they're in the shadow, you're going to lose kids. That's why we couldn't keep track.
That's the whole point.
Right. And so now this ecosystem, we have the standalone, now the ecosystem. Let's take, for example, Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities is a local affiliate organization, small. They get a lot of press, but they're little, and there are many of them. There are hundreds of Catholic Charities across the country, but they're controlled by U.S. Cardinals, U.S. bishops and cardinals based out of DC. They distribute grants, billions of dollars in grants to all these Catholic charities across the country, along with them taking, donations. So it's in the billions, and it's orchestrated. They know. Everyone knows, okay? The ecosystems involved with this, and I'm going to shut up because let's talk about lawyers, right? Lawyers, accountants, right? Why do we have in that database I was talking about, in the IRS database, why do you have a chief financial officer for 400 plus organizations. One guy. Why is that? Right. Well, there's an organization there too, right? There's NICRA. These people get these. There's so many networks in this ecosystem that are just robbing kids blind.
Well, I mean, this is, you know, when we think about government bureaucracy and red tape and Doge and the things that the reason these NGOs and these groups have been so successful is because it's such a spider web and it's so crazy. I mean, I'm listening to you talking and I'm like, this thing, you know, this thing has roots and subroots. And I mean, it's crazy.
I'm so glad you.
Yeah. But Melody, like, you know, child welfare organizations that you monitor and you track where the kids are. A lot of these organizations are willingly or unwillingly involved in the trafficking of children. So obviously those two things go hand in hand. Like, how pervasive of a problem do you think it is with the welfare, with the NGOs, with the children welfare organizations and trafficking? How prevalent do you think that really is?
I think it's extremely prevalent because, first of all, there's people working in these organizations that, you know, maybe not everyone is aware of what's going, but it's kind of like if you think about, like, say, the Masonic Lodge, you've got the people down below that don't really know what's going on, but the people at the top do. And I think that's prevalent throughout this whole industry. You know, people are making money off of the idea and the topic of kids, trafficking kids. We know people online who, you know, claim to be, you know, running organizations to help kids, but basically they're just making money off the topic. And this is happening everywhere, even the actual NGOs. There's so many people that are, and the other problem with this, Angela, is that so much information is siloed. There's not transparency across where all the money is going that's coming in. This is an $84 billion pipeline of money coming from the government, going to our states to help with these systems. And yet you would think with that much money, and actually, like Andy said, it's in the trillions when you think about all the money that's going everywhere. Why is there such a problem? Why is it so broken with that much money going in? And why don't we, the people, know more about what's going on in the system? That's our taxpayer dollars going towards that. We have no transparency there. So the people who are inside these systems, like Jeremy was talking about, I mean, we know of CEOs, we know of senators and different Congress people who are, you know, washing each other's hands and getting involved in this and, you know, being part of just making money off that. The money used to track the beds. Before 2018, Trump came out with an executive order to change that so that money was coming out of the government was going, prior to that was going, how many beds do you have to take care of kids? And he's like, no, the money needs to follow the child. So they're trying to fix that, but the states aren't really, I mean, they're supposed to have implemented that. Not all the states do. There's problems like, you know, money follows the really people who are there's incentivization to pull kids out of families. There's really no incentivization to, you know, do kinship to keep kids with their actual families because it's incentivized. There's, you know, people are grabbing for the kids because they make a paycheck. So yeah, that's very prevalent throughout the system, that the hands washing, one hand washing the other, the lack of transparency, the opaqueness in the system is completely, it's everywhere.
I mean, it's wild to think about. Jeremy, have you ever seen a situation where like a CPS comes in and, like Melody was saying, like the incentivization is to not have the kids with the families?
Well, this would be good.
A situation like if a parent, like, you know, beats that ass, like gives the kid a whooping, a much needed whooping. Have you ever seen CPS come in and take a kid away because of that and then lose the kid, or any stories like that?
Yeah. So I've worked with quite a few individuals. In one of the cases that I'm currently helping a family on, and just for clarification here, listen, we don't think that CPS comes in and they just pull kids for no reasons all the time. Usually there's a reason for them to enter a home or whatever. And when they see that reason, then they pull the kids. What we're finding in this particular case is that, so a child was taken from a mother and a father. Father ended up in jail. Mother couldn't sustain the kids and herself, so that the kids were taken from the mother. And instead of following state and federal law in the kinship placements, they went and instantly put these children into foster care. Well, once that happens, it's almost possible to pull them out, because now you've got to think about the health and welfare and the mental stability of the child, moving them from the family, put them in foster care, then pull them from foster care, put them back with family, so forth, so on. So they're not following those rules. And so what we do is help advocate and educate these families, and showing them their rights, the rules, and what, the states and the laws are supposed to do, and educating them. And what we're finding is they're not doing that, and they're actually taking certain steps to not follow those rules. So, for instance, there was 6 children were taken in the state in Michigan and placed in foster care, and the family, the kinship, was in Indiana. So Michigan did not follow that kinship. So when we intervened, it was like, no, this is the rules, laws, regulations. This is a case perspective. This is what you're supposed to be doing. That forced them to go, okay, all right, now we got to go look at this family. So they went and did a home visit. During this home visit, they go in and they look at, okay, you got 2 vehicles on the premises, but one of them doesn't have insurance. Okay, we deny you for that. They instantly forced them to sign a waiver saying that they can fully care for these kids financially. So once they sign that waiver, now they tell them, they deny them for finances, right? Which they're not supposed to do. But since they signed that waiver, they admitted that they were going to take full financial responsibility, eliminating the state for that financial responsibility, right? By federal law, the money's supposed to follow the child, kinship, et cetera, so on, right? So in the next court case, when they went to this, the judge looked at this as like, you can't do that. However, my hands are cuffed because Indiana denied the home placement. So now you have to go back to ICPC and try to get an appeal. Well, there's no appeal process, right? So now the family is stuck because there's no appeal process.
There's no appeal process. So does Project Milk Carton, you said that you guys kind of step in and try and facilitate families to getting those kids?
Not facilitate, we educate.
Oh, okay.
Right?
We don't step in. We don't interfere with any investigations. We don't, we just, when people come to us, and I'll get into the more specific statistics. Let me do that, because you said what Jeremiah explained to you was a very specific example. Well, I'm going to give you the statistical example. 16% of child removal from homes is from extreme violent abuse. Mm-hmm. It's not just only reported. No, only 16% is actual severe abuse of a child, right? Rightfully taken. Those cases are handled, from what I've researched, as decently as that kind of situation can be dealt with, right? The other majority is poverty based. Okay. Well, then you go, because we've researched this. What's poverty? It could be you don't have medical, medical abuse. You know what I mean? You're eating top ramen because you're a single mom working 2 jobs with twins, right? And those twins fight, kick holes in the wall, and it's not. And then she's got an overlap of an hour, so they're unattended. Those are slivers of neglect that, aside from the 16%. That majority is why children are taken from homes, right? And this is congressional data, not we made this up. We built an AI system of agents that can take this vast system that you just said, like earlier. This is crazy confusing. Well, what we developed takes all this data and provides it to you instantly, almost. Right in front of your face. The
acronym is ARIA, correct?
Yes, ARIA.
What does that stand for?
Autonomous Research Assistant Agent.
Okay.
So, so she powers Project Milk Carton's data. She brings that data to life. She applies, I say she, because
I hope you're not misgendering that AI program.
No, we're not. So the persona that we did, look, I've worked with AI since before it came out. I've built my own. I've trained offline models. I've fine-tuned them. I know how to make AI as accurate as you can make it. It's called retrieval. We don't use training data on any AI model, Opus, OpenAI, any of them. If they come back with training, oh, it's this, go get it. Where's the data at? It's called retrieval. So what we've built.
So what he means, hold on. What he means by that is when he says it goes and gets the data, it is going to come back with a linked source, right? So from any government source, OIG report, right. Anything from them, so forth, so on.
Laws.
So in a nutshell, what area we designed, it's not an AI, we, as a nonprofit, we use Opus because of its safety investment and how it was trained to deal with crises, right? Anthropic Opus doesn't like to play, crazy girlfriend stuff. Like it's a engineer, very serious AI model, and it's powerful, right? But you can give it a persona. I want you to act like this. You have to portray this, and you have to protect children. You have to preserve families and have that ecosystem, and you have to go root to fruit, meaning you have to know everything about the CPS system, from a constitutional layer, from a federal statutes layer, from a state statutes, executive, legislative, administrative, case, judicial, right? So Area knows all of that. So when you're talking to her, and you say, I'm from this state, she automatically knows how CPS is managed in that state. And she automatically knows in her context from the ecosystem that we built, what laws are there, who reports, why, when, how, who's involved with each node of that decision when a report is made to any agency, right? So when a parent is in a situation where the single mom is working 2 jobs, the neighbor calls because it's upkept, it's a little dirty, right? And they come in and swipe the kids, and the mom doesn't know anything because she's busy working her butt off, or him, or whatever, right? So what Area does is it brings data and information and education right now. I got this at the door. She will go, boom. Who's at the door? It's this and this person and that person. She will know really accurately why and how that report was made, just by who's showing up at your door.
That's pretty, that's good AI.
We took 5 years to build it, right?
It sounds amazing.
Okay.
Melody, without naming specific names, or if you want to name names, that's totally cool too. We like to put these people on blast. Do you have an idea of who are the most influential, quote, leaders out there when it comes to moving children or anything like that?
So here's the beauty of our tool Area. That is something that you can go and research in your area. If you're having issues, or if you want to research, that's why we built this, and it's free to everyone. You can go in, we don't charge a thing for it, and you can go find out and start doing research. You ask Area those questions, and then Area is going to open up and ask you questions back, and you start drilling down. And Area is only going to give you things that are according to documentation, law. It can cite all the laws for you right in your area. It will help you. And if you feel like you want to do some research, we'd love to have you on board. We need people who want to do that. So absolutely. But that's not a question that you can just answer with one person or one name. But the research, as we go into it, Area will help us find out exactly where we need to go next to reveal all of this. The transparency is the beauty of our tools.
And if you're someone in a community and you're like, I'd like to know why my cousin's daughter just got removed, what's the website that you can go to actually do those physical searches?
If I may, because I want to.
Oh,
sorry,
go ahead, Jeremy.
I want to caveat off that too. So it's projectmilkcarton.org, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you get through the front door, what we call it, to get access to Area, you can start asking these questions. And to ask the question that you just asked is a very important question, and it leads to more research, right? And so basically, when Andy and I first started doing this, we were doing it 24/7, 7 days a week trying to figure out the structure and how to read the 990s, all this stuff. What we did and what area does is it puts 10 researchers in your pocket. So now you find that information much faster within an hour versus a week or 2 weeks as it took us. Now, one of the things that we haven't spoke on is what that leads to. So when you ask who to name names, who's the main person, that's going to lead to that question if you just follow area, right? And there's the civic side of this that we haven't spoke about, because now it's going to bring you back to your local area and then give you a basic plan of what you can do, with the research that you found, to change or advocate or lobby or whatever, in your local area to make the changes that you see or you want to improve that
And that's where
situation.
my
So-
role comes in.
Yeah. So Melody, because we've had such a very sweeping discussion, we could talk for hours. But what are, like, if you had to nutshell it, what is Project Milk Carton? Like the three things, like, okay, here's what you need to know. Here's what we do, because obviously you guys need help doing the great work that you're doing and to continue your mission. So what are the three things that you say, here's what it's all about?
Absolutely. Education, transparency, and community. That's the three words I would put on it. Education is what we do. We educate, we bring transparency to this very broken system, and then we want to build a community. And that's where my role really comes in as foundation director, is to the hope is to bring together communities, to build coalitions of people who are gaining this information from area. We want everyone to go access it and to learn why it's important for you, even if you don't have kids. If your kids are grown, if your kids are babies, if your kids, have a silver spoon in their mouth and this whole thing doesn't even touch you, why every single person is actually affected in this country by our broken system. And so that's the education we want to bring, so that people find it easy to do so and get involved. And we want to build communities around in every county, to make it easy and accessible and not overwhelming, and something that you just don't even feel like there's a chasm between you and this whole topic. That's what we want to do.
So the database, Andrew, before we have to wrap up, the data area, since that's your baby, you could, I'm assuming there's many myriad things you can ask this AI. People who are going on there, could they search, okay, what is Catholic Charities, for example, what are they giving their money to regarding to children welfare? And then is that the kind of thing that people can go in and say, what's 100%. This NGO all about?
Yep. Boom. And it'll be really quick. Yeah. And it'll be live sources. And that's the ecosystem that we designed, right? All you got to do is say, area, I'm from this state, this county, then question. And then, now here's the thing. We don't just give area, we don't give access to area just to, come in and use it. You have to have training. Okay. There's, not training, just, hey, this is the data, kind of what we talked about. This is how area accesses the data, right? We have to talk about that a little bit, so that when you're getting all this data quickly, that you kind of have an idea, okay, this is where all this information is coming from, the laws, this source, from this data, and this, process, and then as you go through the front door, as Jeremiah said, you click on, you read this stuff and you click on things, and it gives you more access, right? And when you get full access, after you go through all the training, you're just reading on how things work, 990s, things like that, then you get access to our social media. We call it the wall. And there's many rooms in there, the Oracle, the wall, 17 SOG media's in there. All of our articles, our research, our investigations are in there.
I guess I'm a little confused. The area, just a lay person can't go in and check what this NGO is about. You're saying you have to have the training for it?
Yeah. It's like 15 minutes of just.
Oh, okay. And it's like an online thing.
Yeah.
It's more of an understanding of how to use it and what you're going to use it for than it is Because
Yes.
what we don't want is people just going there going, hey, give me a background on this person. It's not going to do that, right? So it's got to be directed towards specific child
And
welfare or NGOs and
and
so on.
we want serious people, and a lot of people come in and abuse this stuff. I have to say this. Okay, a lot of the safety that we put in there was not to protect people, it was to protect our technology, man, because people were trying to do all kinds of weird stuff to Area when we first launched her on Telegram, because that's where we first launched her, and that's where we started seeing what free access actually did to that, that powerful of an AI model. And then we started learning people didn't really understand law when it comes to what they were researching and asking to research, right? And so that slapped me as the chairman in the face and went, oh, okay, we have to have serious people. That means we want people that'll sit down for 15 minutes and read what Area is doing. If you can't do that, we don't want you.
Right.
We don't want any contribution. And I'm not trying to say that to be mean, but this is the caliber of people that these children need. Serious, like grandparents, soccer moms. Area will give you anything. I only have 5 minutes a day, right? Once you gain access, she will tell you what you can do in those 5 minutes a day that'll help children, right?
Calls to action.
So,
Yep. It'll
but
help.
yeah,
Give you a structured plan.
now nothing costs money, okay? The training that you go through is just your time. That's it, right? And so nothing is paywalled. So right now our outputs, 17 SOG Substack, because PMC owns it. The board owns 17 SOG Media. Not a lot of people know that. It's not me making decisions on my Substack anymore. It's a board that PMC owns. And then there's a foundation that Melody runs, and she helps us direct and focus this information that comes out of us, right? Like, whoa, like what you're doing, ma'am. You're like, whoa.
It's a lot of listen. My head is
so that and we need
my head is spinning.
Yeah, I know. We need people like you to like, take it in chunks, and then come back and
We want to create questions. We want people to go, wow, that's interesting, and we want to find out more. And we welcome anybody coming out to our into our emails, or find us on X, find us in our Substack. We want to answer questions. We want the dialogue and the conversation. We want to help people fix this broken situation in our country.
Okay, so speaking of that, you need people who are good at researching, like you guys are, and you also need people.
They don't have to be good at it.
Oh, okay. Well,
just honest,
listen, I'm a big old dummy. You don't want me researching this, but
yeah, you do. It would be just fine it would just be easy as pie. I'm telling you, that's the whole point.
Even you, but you also need donations, correct?
What's that?
To keep this mission going. How can people either get involved again? How can they get involved or donate? And then I want y'all to give your X handles and your emails, because I'm sure, hopefully, you're going to be getting some interest.
Okay. So one of the ways you can help support us is going to our Substack and subscribing. That subscription, however much it is tax deductible.
What's the name of the Substack?
17sogmedia.com. That's our Substack. So you can subscribe. There's no paywall there, so everything's free. All of our investigations and educational materials are there. So if you want to spread it, educate yourself, and utilize some of the civic action cards that we make on our Substack, 17sogmedia.com or 17th SOG Substack.com, to distribute it, to learn for yourself. Those are ways you can give. Most importantly, sharing and educating yourself, and then applying whatever you learn to your community. Another way is we just started to give Singo to help cover yearly costs. We have our financials up there, and that is, I'll have to give you a link to that. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Melody, do you know it, or Jeremiah?
Not off the top of my head, but it's on our X.
I'll get it. Hold on. I'm gonna get it. Hold on, I'll get it. Wait a second.
So while he's searching for that, So what you'll find at that 17th SOG Media is a lot of our research and articles that we've done on CPS, foster care, the structure, the harm it does, and so forth and so on, the advocate, the education. Andy also has on these action cards or civic action cards, he has, action plans, and he also has videos that you can watch describing all of these and so on.
Cool.
You can also find us at P_Milk Carton on X. You can find me, Ansgar, ANSGAR_3 on X, which my DMs are always open to anybody who has a question or wants to get involved. And you can find me at CEO@projectmilkcarton.org.
We put in Project Milk Carton on X. Will your account come up pretty easily?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're also looking for journalists, which we've automated, and I'll let Andy describe why and how we automated that. So basically, when you said you don't research whatever, just asking questions makes you a researcher, because this will do all of that research for you, right?
Mhm.
And then you read it, and then you have another question, you put it in there, and it just populates, right? So we're also looking for volunteers, any way to get involved in many different ways. Like Andy said, we got 3 different divisions, if you will, of investigative journalist and reporting, and obviously the foundation work on Mel, which I'll let her talk more about. So
Yeah.
So
So
real quick, let me so our Give Send Go, I just put in, so it's givesendgo.com. We build the tools, help us keep them run, help us keep them on, or keep
So on
them
Give
running.
Send Go, just put in Project Milk Carton and y'all will pop up too.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
Probably, yep.
Easy peasy. All right. Well, you guys,
Thank you.
what a great organization. There are so many missing kids out there that are just gone into the ether. And I'm so glad that groups like Project Milk Carton exist, and the way that you're going to be able to kind of revolutionize how people can research whatever they want to find is pretty cool. So I want to thank y'all for coming on, and hope to talk to you guys soon.
Yes,
thank you
very
so much for having us. It's a pleasure.
thank you for having us.
Okay, guys, you've been watching the Angela Box Show. Thank you to Project Milk Carton. We'll see you next time.